Quiet on the set, please.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
And action!
Welcome to From Beneath the Hollywood Sign. If you love old movies, Hollywood history, or the golden age of filmmaking, you've come to the right place. This is the podcast that talks about amazing stories of Tinseltown from another era. Hear fascinating conversations with writer-producer Steve Cubine, who quite literally lives just beneath the Hollywood sign, and actress-writer Nan McNamara. Now your hosts, Steve and Nan.
Welcome, everyone, to From Beneath the Hollywood Sign podcast. Steve, there were some tears shed a couple weeks ago.
Well, this has been the last couple of months. We've had some pretty heavy-duty losses in, our world of old Hollywood and new Hollywood.
Yes, and even though we don't know them personally, they are personal to us.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we grew up watching, first we lost Robert Redford, which we did a tribute to, and now we've lost the incredible Diane Keaton. It's just hard to believe that both of these legends are gone.
It really was shocking to learn of her death on October 11th, 2025. Her youthful effervescence, her amazing fashion style.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Everything about her belied mortality. She just seemed like she would live forever.
Yeah.
When most people think of her, they picture Annie Hall, the hat, the vest, the tie, and of course, that unforgettable, quirky charm. I can never do it like she would. No one can. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-di-da.
I love that.
But, her career is so much more than that one role. Over the past 5 decades, her filmography, it's really a study in contrasts. Farce, heart-wrenching dramas, rom-coms with a twist. She's taken risks playing really complicated women, even in the lighter fare that she's had. And she's made some really interesting choices that don't always get the spotlight they deserve. She was also a Pinterest-loving home designer, a fashion rebel in the best sense of the word, a director, a photographer, and a writer.
Now, in this episode, we're going to take a look at some of the films that Diane Keaton made that don't always get the spotlight that we think they deserve. Mm-hmm. Now, watching these films, whether it's for the first time or it's a revisit for you, you realize just how bold and varied her work was, whether in a quiet drama focusing on an intimate character study or a quirky comedy or something completely unexpected. Diane Keaton always brought a mix of honesty, humor, and heart that was entirely her own. So today we honor the life and legacy of the multifaceted Diane Keaton.
And Steve, why don't you kick us off? We each chose 3 films that we wanted to talk about. Why don't you start?
Well, my first film, and this will be no surprise to anybody, it's an early one for her, and it really helped establish the characteristics that would become her trademark.
Yes.
The quirky charm, the vulnerability, the truthfulness, and oh, so funny, so funny. And of course, I'm talking about Woody Allen's classic, Play It Again, Sam, 1972. It's probably no surprise that I would choose this film. I mean, come on. The film starts out with Woody Allen watching the final scene of the classic film Casablanca.
Yes.
Play It Again, Sam was a romantic comedy directed by Herbert Ross and, of course, was written by and stars Woody Allen based on his 1969 stage play. The film follows Alan Felix, played by Alan, of course, a neurotic hypochondriac who's a film critic. Mm-hmm. The film opens with his wife Nancy, played by Susan Anspaugh, asking for a divorce, telling him that he is dull and unexciting. Well, this sends Alan into this free fall of self-doubt, which you can imagine. Alan is obsessed with classic movies, especially Casablanca. He idolizes Humphrey Bogart, and he wishes that he had Bogart's finesse and coolness with the ladies. Well, soon he starts imagining Bogart showing up and giving him romantic advice as he tests the waters of dating again. And in a really fun element to the film, Bogart, who's played by the great Jerry Lacey in these ghostly black and white style shots, he soon becomes Alan's imaginary mentor, urging him to be more confident, tough, and suave with the ladies, which is, it's adorable to watch it. Now, Alan's best friends, business-obsessed Dick, played by the great Tony Roberts, and his often put-upon wife, Linda, Linda, played by Diane Keaton. Well, they try to help Alan re-enter the dating scene through a series of awkward and sometimes cringe-worthy dates and encounters with these various women. And these various women are played to great effect by Jennifer Salt, who you will remember from Soap, I think. Andy Warhol's muse, Viva.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember her.
Yeah.
And it's also the mother of Gabby Hoffman, just randomly enough. The wonderful Suzanne Zinner, who I was obsessed with growing up, and an actress named, and this is the best name ever for an actress, Joy Bang.
Okay.
Joy Bang. Just the fact that there's a woman named Joy Bang in Hollywood just gives me life.
Yeah.
But however, through all of this, it becomes pretty evident that the right woman for Alan is right under his nose in the form of Linda.
Of course.
Who is just as quirky, just as neurotic, and just as lovable as he is. Now, how complicated could that be?
Right.
In love with your best friend's wife.
Not good.
Not good. Well, their growing attraction and their growing connection forces Alan to confront his fantasies about love and identity, and ultimately to choose between living in a dream world or facing real emotions and consequences, as painful and uncomfortable as they can be. The film really blends slapstick, self-deprecating humor, and heartfelt moments to make a powerful statement about romantic idealism, personal insecurity, and the sometimes unrealistic expectations we have of love, maybe?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and the ending even gives us a fantastic nod to Casablanca. So who could not love this movie? It's just perfect. The movie was a huge commercial and critical success, and it was the first film that Keaton made with Woody Allen, whom she was dating at the time. They went on to collaborate on 7 more films, including Annie Hall, 1977, for which Keaton won the Best Actress Oscar. The film certainly has some dated elements, and there are some things in it that are absolutely not PC today, but it absolutely deserves to be seen and appreciated by new audiences. So if you haven't seen Play It Again, Sam, do yourself a favor, go watch this movie. It's fantastic.
Well, not to make this about me, but I did play Linda in a stage version of this at Duluth Repertory Theater.
I love this.
I will not tell you what year it was, but
I'll bet you were a great Linda.
It was such a fun play. I'm still in touch with 2 of the guys from that play.
I love that.
Yeah. Great choice.
Thank
choice.
you.
Especially for this podcast with
Of course.
the bogey connection.
Casablanca
right?
bogey.
Well, my first film is something that is Woody Allen's first drama. It's Interiors, 1978, also written and directed by Woody Allen. He is a controversial figure. We just need to put that out there.
Yep.
You can't talk about Diane Keaton's body of work without mentioning the films that she made with him.
And we talked about this before, but at what point do we separate the artist from the art? Because the art they made is beautiful and it's important, even though they may be less than ideal.
Agreed.
Collaborators.
Agreed. As I mentioned, it's his first drama, but of course, by this time in Diane's career, she had already proven her dramatic skills in films like The Godfather Parts 1 and 2, 1972 and 1974, as well as Looking for Mr. Goodbar in 1977, which came out the same year as Annie Hall.
Yes.
I was thinking about doing those 2 films, or at least them coming out in the same year. If she had never made another film but those 2, starring in those diverse stories,
it
solidifies the depth of her talent right there.
Yeah.
Nobody can argue that. Interiors centers on 3 sisters played by Diane Keaton, Mary Beth Hurt, and Kristen Griffith, whose lives are upended when their parents, Arthur and Eve, played by E.G. Marshall, and the great Geraldine Page, divorce, and the sisters are forced to come to terms with their own lives. It's not a film about divorce. It's really about them all kind of dealing with what's going on inside, hence the title of the film. The film also features the peerless Maureen Stapleton as Arthur's second wife, and Sam Waterston and Richard Jordan play partners to Mary Beth Hurt and Diane Keaton. The film's been called an homage to Ingmar Bergman, with the story also influenced by playwright Anton Chekhov. Interiors was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including art direction, screenplay, director, supporting actress for Stapleton, and lead actress for Geraldine Page. The centerpieces of this film are really the female characters. Keaton plays the oldest of 3 sisters. She's a successful poet, and that creates tensions not only with her younger sister Joey, but also with her writer husband, who struggles to reach her level of acclaim. Keaton's opening scenes in this film are shot in close-up, and she sits with what we assume is an unseen therapist describing what's going on in her life. Not only is she absolutely luminous with her grief-stricken eyes. She's able to turn what I think of Woody Allen's dialogue as sometimes being highfalutin.
That's a great way to say that.
Right?
Yes.
It's poetical and it's beautiful.
It's a way that not everybody speaks.
Not everybody speaks. And not all the actors in this film and in many of his films are successful with that. But Diane Keaton just makes it live and breathe in the most natural way. She makes you believe that, yeah, people really do talk that way. And she also makes it seem really effortless. In those scenes, she makes such interesting choices of when to show emotion. Not in the places in the speeches where you would think she would about something horrible that's happening, but and that's real life. We start to cry over not the things that are the most painful. We try to hide the tears.
So true. We do. We spend so much time trying to repress those feelings.
Yes. So her portrayal of Renata just is exquisite. Looking at her face in the silent moments, there is just so much going on. And even though she's a successful writer to those on the outside, in her private moments, the camera captures in her eyes the doubt and desperation of whether she can continue to be a success. This portrayal is about as far as you can get from Annie Hall. I mean, it's just amazing. I cannot talk about this film without not speaking about Geraldine Page and Maureen Stapleton. As the suicidal Eve, Geraldine Page is haunting. Her face, and you can find this clip on YouTube, her face at the dinner table scene when Arthur reveals his plans to leave her shifts from stoicism to literally grotesque.
Yes,
I mean,
I can picture
amazing what she does. Throughout, she shows us this contrast between her outer perfectionism and her internal anguish. It's an indelible performance that should have won the Academy Award. And I'm sorry, Jane Fonda, I love me some Jane Fonda.
For Clute?
For Coming Home.
For Coming Home, okay,
But you compare these two performances, I think even Jane would agree that Geraldine should have won. And Maureen Stapleton owns the role of the other woman. She's honest, direct, simple, charming. She's a real kind of broad, but you just love her. Even though you sympathize with the daughter's plight that they don't want their dad to remarry, you're just thinking, oh, but he's marrying this woman who's amazing.
Let him be happy.
Yeah, the contrast, too, between the two characters, between Page and Stapleton, it just tells you everything about why Arthur wanted to leave. I won't give away the ending, but one of the most powerful scenes is Stapleton running down the beach in this red caftan.
Oh, yes.
So the cinematography is also something to see this film for. Beautifully shot, exquisitely acted. See it for Keaton, but also for Page and Stapleton. They're just brilliant.
Great choice. I love that movie.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's so different from some of her other lighter fare.
Yeah, it truly is.
Well, for my next film, you all know I like things a little on the dark side. Well, it doesn't get much darker than my next Diane Keaton film. It's about as far away from Play It Again, Sam as you can get. Mm-hmm. In fact, for me, a big part of the appeal of this movie is how it shows Diane Keaton's incredible range as an actress. The film, it's dark, it's twisted, and it's this cautionary tale that probably did more to discourage one-night stands than any other movie ever.
You are right. I think you are right.
And of course, I'm talking about Looking for Mr. Goodbar, 1977, directed and written for the screen by Richard Brooks. It was based on Judith Rosner's 1975 best-selling novel, which was inspired by true events. The film, which was produced by the legendary talent agent and film producer Freddie Fields, and a fun fact that I learned rewatching this movie, which is really, really cool, it opens up with this montage of these black and white photos of this sexy nightlife of people out getting their drink on and dancing and having fun, and there's all these really cool photos. The photos really set the tone for the entire movie. Well, this whole montage of photos was designed and created by photographer and actress Kathy Fields, who was Freddie Fields' daughter.
Oh my gosh.
And Kathy was an actress, and I know Kathy.
I was going to say, don't you know Kathy?
I do. I know Kathy, and I've been wanting to get her on this show. Because Kathy's had this fascinating life and career. I mean, her mother was child actress Edith Fellows, who we've covered here on the podcast. Her stepmothers were actresses Polly Bergen and a former Miss Universe Greek actress and model Corinna Sofia. Soapay. So hopefully we'll get Kathy on the show
Yeah,
and she
that'd
can
be
talk
great.
about her very
Looking for Mr.
career.
Goodbar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, getting back to Looking for Mr. Goodbar, it's this psychological drama that follows Teresa Dunn, played by Keaton, who's this young, intelligent, and seemingly conventional school teacher in the 1970s. She lives under the shadow of a very strict Irish Catholic upbringing. Her bombastic father, played by Richard Kiley, and her repressed religious mother, played by Priscilla Pointer, they don't know what to make of their good girl daughter who begins to break out of her shell and begins to find freedom and sexual liberation, which was the era for it.
Yes, exactly.
She also has an older sister played beautifully by Tuesday Weld. Well, Tuesday Weld's character, she is recently divorced. She's hedonistic. She's this wild child. And she's also a big influence on Teresa as Teresa's trying to break free of this conventional upbringing. Well, by day, Teresa is this kindly, patient teacher of deaf children. And by night, she descends into the seedy world of anonymous sex and copious drugs and wild nightlife in search of excitement and freedom and identity. She's really looking for herself. Well, she's haunted by these childhood traumas and she struggles with feelings of inadequacy and repression. So she's just trying to find herself. Well, she seeks liberation through these increasingly dangerous liaisons with men that she meets in bars. Well, her double life also extends into the men she's dating. She starts seeing this seemingly nice, kind of normal welfare caseworker named James, played by William Atherton, who was so good in Day of the Locust a couple of years before this.
Yeah.
So good. Now, he is, to her parents, the perfect guy. This is husband material. He's Irish Catholic. He's got a good job.
He's got a car.
He's similar to them. So, they're really pushing her towards James. But in a bar, she also meets Tony, who's this brooding, great-looking, probably drug-addicted bad boy, played by Richard Gere in a performance that really put him on the map in Hollywood. Now,
I think it's his first film.
it was actually his third film,
Oh, is it?
but he
Okay.
had two tiny, like one-liners.
So really the first lead.
This is the first movie that he had any notice in it, and it really made a mark. Well, this double life of hers, it's beginning to spiral out of control as the choices she's making bring her closer and closer to self-destruction. Well, the film culminates in this shocking and tragic ending that I won't get into.
No.
It still haunts me.
Yes.
It still packs a punch to this day. And when you see it, your mouth will be agape and you'll be like, what just happened? That's all I'm going to say about that. But
Yeah.
the movie was a big moneymaker at the box office and it earned great critical praise, especially for Keaton's brave, complicated performance. But that's not to say that everybody liked this film. It was
Yeah.
very polarizing.
I think it was.
Some people thought it was lurid and over the top and horrible. Some people thought it was part of the great 70s filmmaking genre that really took us into a rawer realm than we've ever been in before as far as storytelling and narrative, things like that. When it came time for the Oscars that year, Looking for Mr. Goodbar only received 2 nominations. One for William A. Fracker's rich and foreboding cinematography, and one for Tuesday Weld as the sister, which was a little bit of a surprise for Best Supporting Actress. But it does shock me a little bit that Keaton was not nominated. However, this was the very same year, as you mentioned, that she came out in Annie Hall, and I'm sure that Oscar voters were not too keen on giving 2 of the 5 Best Actress slots to the same actress,
Right,
so they chose
right.
Annie Hall over this one.
I also wonder, Steve, if, and it's not to take away anything she did in Annie Hall, those 2 films, you're a voter, you see this actress do both of these, and you vote for her for Annie Hall because she did also Looking for Mr. Goodbar. You know what I mean? Like it's a combo.
I think it might have
vote.
helped her because
Yeah.
they couldn't be 2 more opposite
Oh,
movies
yeah,
when you
yeah.
see them. Yeah. She did, however, receive a Best Actress nomination at the Golden Globes, and she finished in 3rd place, and this is fun, for the New York Critics Best Actress Award, where she was actually beaten by herself for Annie Hall.
Oh my gosh.
Which is too funny.
What a year.
I know. Well, the film introduced viewers not only to Richard Gere, but also to Tom Berenger in a stunning debut. And also LeVar Burton was his
Okay.
first film. And it was
Wow.
one of the first screen credits for the great Brian Dennehy, who plays a surgeon in one of Teresa's fantasy sequence. She always has these great fantasies throughout the movie
Yes.
that are really very telling and very well done. Well, the film also featured Alan Feinstein as the married college professor who teaches Teresa about heartbreak, and Laurie Prang as her traditional sister who cranks out babies and does what's expected of a nice Irish Catholic girl.
Right.
Unlike her. And I can't talk about this movie without mentioning the incredible soundtrack. It was a perfect blend of popular songs of the era, like Diana Ross's Love Hangover, Thelma Houston's Never Can Say Goodbye, and the Commodore's Machine Gun, two songs that were placed perfectly in the film to help create the mood and further the narrative, like the OJ's Backstabbers.
Yes.
Boz Scaggs' Low Down, Bill Withers' She's Lonely. Such a great soundtrack.
And it just brings you into that world so
takes you into
instantly.
that. You know, time, place, where you are, what's going on.
So true.
Exactly. To me, it's a prime example of how popular music can enhance a movie.
Yeah, for sure.
There was an ill-conceived sequel to this movie, which came out in 1983 in the form of a TV movie called Track Down, Looking for the Good Bar Killer. Remember that one?
No. That would be a big no.
And there's no reason to know this movie. It starred George Siegel as a police detective who was trying to find Teresa's killer.
Okay.
And also Shelley Hack as a teacher at the deaf school where she worked, who's trying to help also solve the crime.
Oh, I've heard all I need to hear.
Yeah, I was going to say, skip this one, but definitely watch the original if you guys haven't seen it. It's a must-see for Diane Keaton fans. But be warned, it's not for the faint at heart. If you're offended by sexuality or nudity, adult language, adult situations, maybe not the best movie for you, but it is such an important movie, I think, in terms of the 1970s film movement that everyone should see it.
And her canon as well.
Oh, this performance from Diane Keaton, she's never touched anything near this in any other movie.
Yeah. Great choice. Great choice. And I should mention, just jumping back to interiors, I did find that on YouTube. I don't know if Looking for Mr. Goodbar is available, but what I've noticed is since Diane Keaton's passing, all the streamers are charging for her movies.
Yes, I actually had to pay to rewatch.
They were free before she died, and now they're not.
Capitalizing on her death.
All right, we won't go there. Or we just did, I guess. I think it's time for this week's Hollywood Pop Quiz.
Well, the pop quiz question is, which of Diane Keaton's leading men was actually an old friend of hers who she first met when they were studying drama together at Santa Ana College in Orange County, California?
Great question.
Do we know the answer?
I think I do.
I think you do too.
Okay, we'll be right back with that and more about the incomparable Diane Keaton after this.
Steve and Ann will be right back, but first another stop on the Hollywood tour. One of the most iconic characters Diane Keaton ever played was her favorite role, Annie Hall. Aside from the famous expression, la-di-da, Keaton is best remembered for her outfits, layering oversized men's blazers over vests, billowy trousers, or long skirts, a man's tie, and boots. In fact, the look was often referred to as the Annie Hall look. And some sources suggest that Keaton herself was mainly responsible for that look, though Ralph Lauren has often claimed credit. But the wardrobe department bought only one jacket and one tie from Lauren for use in that film. So the aesthetic was in the air at the time. Well, in an interview in the early 90s, Woody Allen recalled that, believe it or not, Keaton's style almost didn't end up in the film. Here's what happened. Diane Keaton came into a wardrobe room on set wearing that combination of clothes. Allen recalled that a woman from costuming took one look at Keaton, turned to Woody Allen and whispered, quote, "Tell her not to wear that. She can't wear that. It's so crazy." Allen smiled and said, "Leave her. She's a genius. Let's just leave her alone and let her wear what she wants." Maybe one of Allen's best directorial decisions ever, huh? And now back to Steve and Ann from Beneath the Hollywood Sign.
Welcome back, everybody. We're excited to talk about some of the lesser-known films of Diane Keaton today, who we honor this week. But before we get into that, I wanted to give a shout-out to our listener of the week. And this week, it's Michael Andeal from Bend, Oregon. Michael always shares the best online material with us. And he's been such a great supporter of the show. We really appreciate you, Michael, and just thanks for all the support.
Thank you, Michael. Well, my next film honoring Diane Keaton is Shoot the Moon, 1982, directed by Alan Parker, written by Bo Goldman, who at this point in his career had already won 2 Academy Awards for writing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975, and Melvin and Howard, 1980. And director Parker, Alan Parker, had such a varied career, directing everything from Midnight Express, 1978, to Fame, 1980.
Now there is a jump.
I mean, right? Mississippi Burning, 1988. Yeah. The Commitments, 1991. And Evita.
I know. What?
1996. He's all over the place.
I was going to say, what a resume.
I mean, what a resume.
Yeah.
And even, so many more that we don't have time to talk about. But no Academy Award nominations for this film, which is shocking to me in terms of the performance that Diane Keaton gives. She did tie for the New York Film Critics Award with Jessica Lange for Frances, also in 1982, and both Finney and Keaton were nominated for the Golden Globe. The story follows the crumbling marriage of successful writer George Dunlap, played by Albert Finney, and housewife Faith, played by Keaton, who live with their young daughters in Northern California. We learn from the very first scene that George is having an affair with a woman named Sandy, played by Karen Allen. George ultimately moves out of the house, and we see the title shifts in the family dynamics. That's really where the film goes from that point on. The breakup fractures not only wife Faith, but the children as well, particularly the oldest daughter, Sherry, played by Dana Hill.
She's so good in this movie.
Oh, she's just so wonderful. Who has a greater understanding of what's happening with her parents because she's the oldest, and she breaks ties with her father. Faith, initially, after his moving out, falls into a deep depression, but eventually finds strength to resume her life. She begins dating a contractor, played by Peter Weller, who she's hired to build a tennis court on the property, which is a kind of an odd little choice there. But this film is deliciously messy in all the right ways.
Yeah, messy's the perfect word for this movie.
So, from the opening scene with Keaton sitting at the makeup mirror getting ready to attend an awards banquet with her husband, she's surrounded by all four daughters, played by Vivica Davis, Tracy Gold, and Tina Yothers. Yes, Tracy Gold being from Growing Pains,
Yes.
Tina Yothers from
Family Ties.
Family Ties, in addition to Dana Hill I mentioned earlier. Talk about a powerhouse quartet of young actresses, and they are, each of them, so wonderful. They giggle, they talk, they give advice to their mom on what to wear. It's so real, it's so beautiful, all overlapping, and Diane Keaton is just like handling each thing beautifully. In the storyline, husband George wins this writing award at a ceremony that they have driven into the city, into San Francisco, to attend. And on their way back to their farmhouse, Keaton holds this award in her lap. There's no dialogue, just the flash of lights as they're driving down the road that kind of come in through the car, and they capture Keaton's eyes. The story she tells with no dialogue. It's absolutely arresting. This sadness, I think there's probably some real anger, exhaustion. We don't need anything said because we see it all in her face. She's absolutely charming when she's talking to anybody other than her husband, though. They seem to bring out the worst in each other. Keaton also depicts the depression that her character experiences after he leaves with such specificity and honesty. When they show her in bed, you could almost smell the room.
Yes.
Because of what she does and the desperation that her children, especially the one played by Dana Hill, are trying to keep that household together while mom tries to get her life back together. And you absolutely believe that Keaton can juggle 5,000 things at once, listening to every single child while making dinner and taking them to school and handling the household. In fact, after Finney's character George has moved out, he picks up the girls to take them to school. Now, this is just one time. He's picking them up to go to school. And after just one morning of experiencing the chaos, he says to himself, how does she do it? and it's a really wonderful recognition of, oh my gosh, she's a wizard. She does it all. Toward the end of the film, there's another scene in the dark between Keaton and Finney. Keaton has just lost her father. The light again barely showing her face. Do we see a wiser woman? Do we see someone who's a little more hardened? There's a wonderful exchange of dialogue between the two of them. George says to her, I'm not kind anymore. And Faith says, me either. And George says, you're kind to strangers. And Faith says, yeah, strangers are easy. Which is just such
so telling.
Yeah.
So telling.
And really kind of encompasses what the film is about. Keaton's portrayal, which at the minimum should have been Oscar nominated, occurred in that year of powerhouse female performances, including, I mentioned, Jessica Lange in Frances, Sissy Spacek in Missing, Julie Andrews in Victor Victoria, Deborah Winger in Officer and a Gentleman, and of course, the winner that year, our dear Meryl Streep, who won for Sophie's Choice. I think I would have taken Deborah Winger out and put Diane Keaton in.
Yeah, I think I would have too. That was a powerhouse year, though, for women.
It really, really was. Tragically, the extraordinary young actress Dana Hill died at the age of 32 from what I understand was complications due to diabetes. She's just absolutely heartbreaking in this role, and it really just makes you wonder what she would have done had she gone on
She
in her career.
She did Steel Magnolias at the Pasadena Playhouse When I first moved out here and I saw her, she was Shelby.
She was Shelby.
She was so good.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps because Shelby has diabetes.
Yeah, I always loved that actress. I thought she was so wonderful. And it's so sad she died so young.
She really did. It's one of my top Keaton performances,
Yeah.
if not for the bathtub scene alone.
The bathtub scene, yes. That's iconic.
Yeah.
I love it. Great choice. Great choice. And honestly, if you haven't seen that one, I really encourage you, go see it.
And I think I did find this one on YouTube.
We like free movies.
Yeah, we do.
Well, my final Diane Keaton movie, it's a great one, and it's one of my favorites. There aren't too many actors out there who can say that they overshadowed the great Meryl Streep
No.
in a film. But Diane Keaton is one of them who can. In the poignant 1996 family drama Marvin's Room, it is Keaton's movie all the way.
Yep.
I mean, she steals our hearts, and she steals the film from the always fantastic Meryl Streep. It was directed by Jerry Zaks, who's primarily a Broadway director, and it's based on the stage play by Scott McPherson, who sadly never got to see his brilliant play turned into this wonderful movie as he died from AIDS complications in 1992 at the age of 33. I actually saw the stage play at the beautiful but now defunct Tiffany Theater on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, if you remember that.
I love that theater.
Such a great theater.
Yep.
This version starred Jean Smart and Mary Steenburgen. Oh. It was magnificent.
I bet they were amazing.
They were so good. And the night I saw it, and this was really cool, Steenburgen's pal Hillary Clinton was in the audience, who was at the time First Lady of the United States. So the place was teeming with Secret Service agents. It was so fun to pick out the agents.
Fun
it was
memory.
So fun, but it was so great. Well, the movie Marvin's Room, it centers on two estranged sisters. There's Bessie, played by Diane Keaton, and Lee, played by Meryl Streep. And they're forced to reconnect after years of separation when Bessie is diagnosed with leukemia and she needs a bone marrow transplant. Well, Bessie has spent the last 20 years of her life selflessly caring for her bedridden father, Marvin, played by Hume Cronin, and their elderly Aunt Ruth, played by the wonderful Gwen Verdon. And they all live in Florida together. Well, meanwhile, Lee has moved off to Ohio. She works as a hairstylist, and she's struggling to raise her troubled teenage son, Hank, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who was white hot after his appearances in Romeo and Juliet in 1993 and What's Eating Gilbert Grape in 1996. And also on board is her sweet younger son, Charlie, played by Hal Scardino. Well, we find out that Hank was recently institutionalized for setting fire to the family home. Also in the movie is Bessie's absent-minded doctor, played to great comic effect by Robert De Niro. Also in the cast are Dan Hedaya, Cynthia Nixon, and Margot Martindale. Great cast.
Yes, it is a good cast.
Well, about the story. When Bessie reaches out to Lee as a potential bone marrow donor, Lee returns to Florida with Hank and Charlie in tow, and the reunion stirs up these long-buried resentments and regrets and all these emotional wounds, but it also opens the door for healing and reconciliation in such a beautiful way. Not to give too much away, but there is this one scene as Lee tries to fix this hideous wig that Bessie has to wear, that the sisters have a real heartfelt connection, and Bessie tells Lee about this young carnival worker she loved one summer. It is such a beautiful scene, and it shows two incredible powerhouse actresses operating at the very top of their games. I always say that every actor should be required to watch this scene for those two women.
They're so wonderful.
It's amazing. And through moments of humor and tenderness and heartache, Marvin's Room explores the complexities of family responsibility and forgiveness and the enduring strength of familial love in the face of illness and personal hardship. The movie's messy, much like your movie.
Yeah.
Messy, messy, messy. It's achingly painful, but it still manages to make you laugh out loud at certain points.
Yeah, it does.
And the performances are insanely good, with Keaton leading the pack. I mean, all the performances offer this emotional depth and this truthfulness that's just stunning. And it's really fun to watch Meryl Streep tackle this very selfish Lee character.
Oh, I love her in this movie.
She's so good in it, and kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
And I think throughout her journey, Lee learns the importance of family, and you can see it as she changes, and it's so beautiful. She does it so well. And also you see the early promise of Leonardo DiCaprio, who's just fantastic as Hank. But however, for me, next to Diane Keaton, who literally steals the movie, the standout performance comes from Broadway legend Gwen Verdon.
Yes, she is phenomenal.
She plays this dotty, eccentric, but wiser than you think Aunt Ruth. She's so good. The film performed only modestly at the box office, but critics loved it, especially her performance. However, its only Oscar nomination was for Diane Keaton as Best Actress. It didn't get any other nominations, which really surprised me.
I'm surprised Gwen didn't get supporting.
I thought she should have. Well, that year, Keaton, of course, lost out to Frances McDormand for Fargo, which tough year. However, as a consolation prize for Meryl Streep, she did receive a Golden Globe nomination and Diane didn't. So there you have it. And at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, the entire cast was nominated for Best Performance by a Cast in a Motion Picture. Diane Keaton was individually nominated as Best Actress, and the brilliant Gwen Verdon was nominated as Best Supporting Actress. Now, if you haven't seen this one, get ready to laugh, get ready to cry, and then call your sister and apologize for all the mean shit you did to her throughout your life.
Yes.
It's a must-see. Go watch this movie.
That's such a great choice. The play that I'm doing right now at the Matrix Theater, Rogue Machine.
Come see it.
Called Anthropology. One of the wonderful lines that Lauren Gunderson writes is, I think it goes something like this. It's not my line. People fight. Sisters really fight.
Yeah.
Which is such a truism.
Yes. That could be the log line for this movie.
Yeah, you're right. Great choice, Steve. I love that movie.
You.
All right, final movie to talk about is, it's a lot out of our time frame normally of what we talk about, but I just couldn't resist talking about Something's Gotta Give.
Oh, you've got to talk about that one.
It's 2003. Isn't that amazing? That's over 20 years ago.
I know.
Yeah. Written and directed by, of course, the great Nancy Meyers. Meyers wrote the film specifically for Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Keaton received her 4th Academy Award nomination for Something's Gotta Give. The other 2 we mentioned, Marvin's Room, and she won for Annie Hall. And the 4th, she was nominated for that little movie that Warren Beatty made called Reds.
Yes.
1981.
I almost chose Reds, actually.
Yeah, me too. I love that film.
Me too.
And Jack Nicholson is in that as well.
And Maureen Stapleton.
Well, the story is Diane Keaton plays Erica Berry, who's a successful playwright whose daughter, played by Amanda Peet, is dating an older music mogul, Harry, played by Jack Nicholson, who's famous for being single and going out exclusively with much younger women. All 3 accidentally end up at Erica's beach house in the Hamptons, where Harry has a heart attack. This all happens pretty quickly in the film. His doctor in the Hamptons, Keanu Reeves, recommends he stay put to recuperate, and Erica ends up caring for him. And the single Erica now has 2 men in her life, not only Harry, but the younger doctor starts to fall for the older Erica. The film also features Frances McDormand as Keaton's sister. This film has everything that you want in a rom-com. It has a beautiful home in the Hamptons, the interiors of which were actually shot on the Warner Brothers lot. A delightful script by Nancy Meyers that artfully shows the differences between how society treats women aging and men aging. Very different.
So true, yeah.
And of course, it's Diane Keaton at her wonderful, quirky best, and dressed, in my opinion, with perfect fashion sense, almost always in a white or cream turtleneck.
Yes, it's the white creamy look for her.
Yes. In her comedies in general, and this one in particular, I think of Diane Keaton as a juggler. She really kind of juggles everything to perfection in this film. She can embody so many things all at once, and then she physicalizes it. So she's got it internally and physically at the same time. One of the opening scenes is her in this cheese shop where she moves from speaking perfect French to the shop girl to exasperation at seeing these 2 older women who are shopping together who she thinks she might become. And then utter disgust when she literally runs into Jack Nicholson in the shop. There's the scene where she's in front of her computer writing her play, and it's so delicious. She moves from tears to laughter to tears. She keeps us just firmly rooted in the comedy, but she finds those notes of pathos and loneliness and longing. I mean, she's just brilliant. And can we talk about the chemistry between both of her leading men?
Oh, both. Sizzling.
I mean, Nicholson and Keanu, it's palpable.
Yes.
And the relationship with Keanu, it really makes you think, yes, why do we rarely see younger men with older women? I totally buy them as a couple.
Totally bought them as a couple.
When he comes to the door to take her to dinner and she walks out in that dress, you're just like, oh my God, these two are perfect together, right? And near the end of the film, there is a showdown between the three of them in Paris in this perfect setting. It's a restaurant called Le Grand Colbert, which Lindsay and I have actually been to.
Did you go to it just by happenstance, or did you know it was part of the movie?
No, we had seen the movie. We were like, we have to go there.
Of course you got to go.
And they have the corner booth where they played the scene. They have the actual
slate.
They have the slate there, and they have a photo, and we've been there twice. The second time we were there was a couple sitting at the table with a little dog, and we were missing our sweet Sally, God rest her soul. And so I befriended them and started talking to them. Their dog's name was Lola, and it turns out they're the owners of the restaurant.
Oh, no way.
And so we got to have this wonderful conversation with them, and they sent us champagne at the end of the dinner, and it was just magical.
How lovely.
Yes, but I digress. You can sit in that same booth. You can, have dinner there. And it's a wonderful scene between Keaton and Keanu and Nicholson because you really don't know which way she's going to go.
I did not know where she was going to go in that scene, yes.
And at that moment, they both seem really pretty charming.
Yeah.
I won't tell you who she ends up with in case you haven't seen it, but it's an absolute delight. There's laughs, there's romance, but even more than that, it's such an important thesis, if I can use that word, on women aging.
Yes.
And we need more films like that, I think. Keaton is the centerpiece of this. She glows. You want to be her, you want to live like her, you want to dress like her, and you want to talk like her. I mean, at least I do. She actually refers to this as her favorite film.
Oh, I didn't know that. I love that. Well, there's that whole sequence, not to give too much away, where she cries.
Yes.
It's sort of a montage of her.
Yeah, when she's working on the...
It is the funniest thing I have ever seen. If I just want to laugh, I will put that on.
Yeah.
So good.
She's great.
Great choice.
Great. Well, let's just hope and pray that we don't lose any other greats through the rest of this year.
I know.
Steve, let's remind our listeners of the question to this week's Hollywood Pop Quiz.
Well, the question was, which of Diane Keaton's leading men was actually an old friend of hers who she first met when she was studying drama at Santa Ana College in Orange County, California? Do we have any guesses? Anybody over there?
I think I know, but I'm not going to guess.
Okay. It was, and I did not know this, it was Steve Martin. They went to college together. They studied drama together at Santa Ana College.
Orange County kids.
And so they had been old friends before they ever appeared together in a movie, which is very cool.
Oh, and how heartbreaking for him to have lost her.
I know. He left a beautiful tribute, I think, on Instagram to her.
And I think Martin Short and Steve Martin in their live show did a tribute. Like they had a little photograph of her that they posted.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, we love you, Diane Keaton.
Thank you for so many wonderful movies.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, listeners, as we're into our second episode of our third season. So thanks for being with us. We hope you follow us on social media. Our handle is @FromBeneathTheHollywoodSign. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can also watch the podcast on YouTube. If you do that, give us a thumbs up and please subscribe to our channel.
And we'd love to hear from you guys. You can email us at info@FromBeneathTheHollywoodSign.com.
That's this week's view.
From Beneath the Hollywood Sign.
You've been listening to From Beneath the Hollywood Sign with Steve Cubine and Ann McNamara, the podcast that celebrates amazing stories of Tinseltown from its golden era. Join us next week for another episode and learn something else about Hollywood you probably never knew. Take a moment and give us a 5-star rating and a positive review, and tell your friends about us too. It'll help grow the podcast. Visit Steve's website at FromBeneathTheHollywoodSign.com. The executive producers are Steve Cubine and Nan McNamara. Executive producer and post-production supervisor Lindsay Schnebley. Associate producer and researcher John Price Ritchie. This podcast is part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. Visit airwavemedia.com to listen and subscribe to their other fine shows like The Box of Oddities and The Shallow End with Schnebley and Toth. Copyright 2025. All rights reserved. That's a wrap.
All right, Steve, what is the answer? What is the question to this week's Hollywood Pop Quiz?
What is the question to this?
What is the answer to this?
Well, I was going to say, what's the question so that we can...
Yeah.
Okay, I'll rephrase it. Steve, let's remind our listeners of the question to this week's Hollywood Pop Quiz.
There you go.
I hate you right now.
2 words. Easter egg.
Easter egg. You know it'll show up somewhere.